Hi, I'm Josh from Crunch Media, and welcome to Talent Talks, the podcast where we hero professionals within talent attraction and recruitment marketing space. And a big warm welcome to Sam Slade, experienced talent acquisition manager over at D&D London. Sam, welcome to the pod. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much for having me.
I've got to say, you've got a fantastic backdrop behind you, so I think you're putting everyone else to shame. But that's the benefit of being in the hospitality industry.
It is, yeah. I'm lucky enough to be in our hotel today, so no, it's a lovely place to be.
you must be able to get to sit at some fantastic restaurants and hotels. But anyway, so as I ask everyone to kick us off, Sam, you work for a really established team, a really established brand in D&D London. Can you
Mm.
just talk us through your journey to where you got to today? How did you get here?
So, I mean, we could go back a long, long way. So, I had a place at university, as many born did coming out of school, um, working in restaurants during that time as well. Kind of got the love of it, got the buzz, got the excitement. Worked in restaurants until I was, I say, early 20s. So I had a place at university, turned it down and said I need a bit of a year to make some money to go to university these days. And then never went back. So I didn't actually take it up. Worked in loads of different restaurants, bars. Uh, got headhunted in the first one to go and work in a local cheese and wine shop, which is great, and learnt so much coming out. Going into it not liking wine, coming out of it absolutely loving it, and knowing everything about it was is always great. So kind of that skill set, I'd say to a lot of people, is hospitality is a great kind of foundation for anyone, for any job going into anything. I mean, it gives you the opportunity to learn and kind of come over issues and talk to people and problem solve and time management and everything like that. I think it gives you a really good background to go into lots of things. Um, I think bringing my mum into it, she got worried about me doing the long shifts and becoming stick thin and finishing at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So took it upon herself to speak to a family friend who was in recruitment, funny enough, in an agency, small agency in Oxfordshire, and spoke to him for me on my behalf and said, look, you'll be great at it. You can talk to people. So it kind of I fell into it from there, which is, I mean, you look back at it now, it's like funny how things turn out. So thanks to her, I suppose. But
Sounds to your mum.
yeah, it is. It is. It's a strange one, but it did work. Uh, so that agency was mainly doing kind of retail stuff. So we were based out in Oxford, so near places like Bicester Village, and again working with some great brands, and did that for 4 years. Took the plunge and moved into London and went to work for MacArthur Glen, which was an incredible experience. Again for them for 3 years, I think 3.5 years. Did some amazing stuff with those guys. Opened some shopping outlets. So they're sorry, the MacArthur Glen are a designer shopping outlet group. So they have, I think it's about 20 odd now, over 8 different countries. Um, so we're lucky enough to open one in Malaga, work with the team out there. Um, Again, working with the Spanish employment uh, situation out there is a lot different to the UK one. So it gives you that kind of exposure to that as well. And seeing a place that was a field turn into a shopping centre, I mean, it's great to see the work that's done and the process that goes through that as well. So, I mean, uh, yeah, I'd say it was one of my best times working in the recruitment scene as well, doing lots of different projects and rollouts and things like that. And then coming to the kind of present day of D&D, it was always a brand that working in a recruitment agent you wanted to work for, and it was a brand that was never kind of attainable. D&D, we don't use any agencies, still don't to this day. So it was always that kind of forbidden fruit style thing. So when the role came up, I thought it was a great one to kind of pounce on and try and throw my hat in the ring for it. Um, and then yeah, been here for almost 2.5 years or 3 years, almost coming up to now. So loving it. I think the team I work with are incredible. And as you said, the restaurants that we get exposure to are great. It's not great for the waistline, let's say that, but I mean, you have to kind of walk to restaurants instead of get the tube. I suppose is the best way to do it.
I think if I was in your shoes all the way back to the cheese and wine store, I'd been rolling out of there. I don't know how you
Oh
managed.
yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, especially when you're plating up everything, you're like, oh, just a little bit for me, some for you. While you're going along, I must try it. I haven't tried this one yet, so I mean, I took that kind of full advantage of that as well.
And how did you get the role at D&D? It's slightly unorthodox, wasn't it? How you managed to find the role?
Yeah, I mean, I contacted James directly. To James is our head of talent. I'm sure he won't mind me kind of mentioning him on here. But yeah, I had him on LinkedIn already. And I tried to message on there, and said, look, I'm really excited about kind of this role. Also on LinkedIn, on Instagram as well. Funny enough. So yeah, I think I came across a bit too keen, or maybe just enough keen, that it secured the interview, and yeah, had a great interview as well. I mean, we did it in one of the restaurants. One of the chefs comes over with garlic bread and drinks and stuff, and said, please try this during the interview. So I mean, it was a great warm welcome even before I got the job. So it's kind of followed on from there as well.
And
No, yeah. I mean, I was already sold, but I mean, the garlic bread just topped it, I think.
what do you cover in the day to day? What are you covering off as talent attraction manager at D&D? What are you doing?
Yeah, so my main role is looking after our front of house. So that can start from anywhere as a commie waiter, so our entry level roles, all the way up to our general managers. So the individuals are looking after kind of huge. For example, I'm in the hotel today. There's an 80-room boutique hotel, so we're looking at people at that level as well. And then I help out with the head office side of things. Sorry, we're now called the support office. So yeah, working on support roles in terms of like marketing, finance, IT, things like that along there as well. I did a lot of that with McCarthy Glen before, so it was purely working on kind of operational, functional roles. Um, so yeah, I've got kind of that exposure to those kind of more niche aspects of sourcing people as well, so that helps with that. So yeah, we work on every single site. Um, so that's kind of all of our restaurants in London. We also have Manchester and Birmingham, and then we have New York and Paris as well. So they're not. We don't really work on the international ones too much, but we do have a rollover in Paris at the moment, which is quite interesting. Again, it's nice to diversify. My French is awful as well, so that's a bit of a challenge. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
The hospitality industry is pretty topical right now. You know, you've got these global restaurants. You're obviously having to hiring people in for not just domestically but abroad as well. What's your take on the current state of the hospitality recruitment market, talent attraction market? How does it feel on your side?
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's gone through some real hardships, especially kind of coming off the back of I say coming off the back of Brexit and COVID. They're about 4 years ago, 5 years ago now. So I mean, I still feel it has a knock-on effect on that in terms of the 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 big pool of candidates, shall we say, is never going to be as big as it was when we could bring some incredible talent over into the UK for that purely reason of staffing our restaurants. I think Brexit has probably had the bigger effect um, than COVID. I think COVID is long gone, and I think a lot of brands have come off the back of that and learned a lot. But I think the constant day to day of the dwindling pool of talent especially in London is a real challenge for not just D&D but the entire industry, I suppose. And we've got to look at different ways of how we bring in fresh talent to the market, especially at a junior level as well. So how we can be a career-based industry again. People coming in and really wanting to be in hospitality and getting a buzz and love for it, um, through again through making it appealing, the benefits that come with that. I mean, a lot of the talking points around flexible working is a bit tricky when you're working in a restaurant. You can't do that from home, so we have to think of other ways to entice people into that industry. Um, I think
Why do you think the market's changing? What is this? What are the specifics? What's the specific impacts come off the back of Brexit?
I think a lot of the UK market, I say English people or young English people, UK people, don't see hospitality much as a career. They see it as a part-time job during uni, or while they're looking for their main time job or their main kind of career goal aspect. I think you see that in the uptakes on college courses, hospitality college courses and uni courses. I think has dropped significantly over recent years or decades, shall we say. So I think that pool is decreasing. I think a lot of people who were international in the industry have either retrained in different areas during COVID or they have then moved back because of visa issues and things like that as well. It's becoming a lot more expensive to carry on a visa or gain a visa in the first place. And I think it's a lot harder and less appealing, I suppose, than it used to be for international staff. I think I would say our restaurants are made up about 75–80% international staff. So if you take that in consideration to the wider market, it's a ongoing issue, I suppose.
How do you think London's faring to the international market? I think we spoke a little bit before how the international market, it feels like there's a bit of a surge in the international market. You're looking at the top restaurants, they're beginning to
Sure.
really pull away from kind of London and where London used to be.
Yeah, there's definitely destinations in the world that are exploding, and I think London is starting to fall behind a little bit. I, we take Dubai, for example. Um, I think there was a stat came out, there was about 36.5 years it would take to eat at every single restaurant if you went out every night. I mean, that says everything you need to know about that kind of area. It's not the whole of Dubai is probably the same kind of size as southern England, if not smaller, in terms of the UK. I think you look at the awards that have come out recently in some of the world's top brands and restaurants and bars. London and the UK come in a handful of times into that list. And you've got places like Shanghai, Hong Kong, Dubai, Paris, New York. Those are really kind of coming up a lot more, and there's a lot more kind of, um, I'd say, revolutionary ideas and trends and stuff that they're taking on because they have the ability to do that. Whereas I think London is slightly sitting in the wings on that one a bit.
And we're restricted in terms of bringing that talent in through through the legislation.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think if you don't have the people to work in those sites, they're going to close, or they're not going to be as great, or the service is going to lack. Um, and that's where we may be having those ongoing issues as well.
So the overcoming it, what's your plan? You know, it sounds like you guys are really, you know, heavily affected by kind of the politics and just the way things have kind of fleshed out over the last few years. How are you guys changing that?
I think there needs to be conversations to be had with the government themselves and have some investment from their side and understanding what our issues are, or stumbling blocks, I suppose, or hurdles that we've got to overcome, and see if there is ways that we can work with um, government figures to be able to make that an easier process to be able to do. And the apprenticeship side of things as well, I think is going to be huge. I think you speak to anyone in the London market, the middle management aspects of hospitality is really lacking. So we need to look at ways that we can fill that gap, and again also bring in new talent. One of the ways we're doing it is by kind of introducing a new apprenticeship scheme in the new year, working with an external provider to build our own personal apprenticeship scheme. So it's personalised around D&D, the values, the ethics, what we want from someone coming in, and we're going to start that on front of house and the management side of it as well to help kind of fill that gap that we've got across the business. And I think that's one way of offering it to people. They come out with it with skills. They come out. It doesn't cost them anything. It also comes from our apprenticeship levy pot as well. So it's money that we wouldn't be kind of using for anything else as well. And that dwindles if you don't use it. So we've kind of identified that we need to make sure that we're getting the most out of that as well. So yeah, working with a great company to be able to get that up and running. So there's a lot of work to make it understand how it's going to look, what's it going to offer, the timeframes around it, and everything like that as well.
And do you see that as an answer to replacing the shortage of international talent that you're able to bring in by kind of developing domestic talent at a younger age to try and bring them through the ranks?
Yeah, I think it's one way of doing it. I mean, it's not going to be the kind of complete fix. I don't think it's just a way that we've seen that potentially would help us in the meantime as well. I think um, it offers a different aspect. It offers learnings as well. Offers people who maybe haven't thought about a career in hospitality to come and do that beforehand as well. I think there's a lot of other things potentially that we could do in terms of salaries and working hours and things like that as well. But I think it's a good starting point.
Okay, the latest budget has just come out from the government, and
Yeah,
you know, you're seeing reports in the media. I think BT are reporting an impact something like 100 million on their operating costs to be able to go meet
yeah,
those. those new demands. How does the hospitality industry seems kind of blind by or blindsided by a lot of the impacts coming from the Brexit
Yeah,
and COVID. What's this budget impact having now on you guys?
I think it always seems to affect hospitality whenever that budget comes out. It's like, okay, what can we be kind of exposed to or thrown at this time? And I was looking at it. I think the UK hospitality website as well has got some great stuff on it if people are interested. I think it's a £3 billion increase from April next year for the entire hospitality UK aspect of that. That's through the business relief percentage decrease as well. So there's a huge amount of money, and I think for standalone sites as well, one-off or family-owned businesses, I think that's going to be a huge hit. I think it's about £33,000 a year for one site, a medium-sized restaurant, which is a huge amount. I mean, especially when you've got increased costs on wage and with the hourly rate going up as well, and then with product costs and the, the the red tape around kind of bringing product in and produce and everything like that as well. You've seen recently with the farmers situation that's happening as well. So UK farmers are also getting hit as well, which is again never great for the hospitality industry because we always want to have locally sourced produce and all of that kind of stuff as well. So I mean, every little thing has a knock-on effect to the wider industry, and I mean, it's evident to say that hospitality is probably one of the driving forces behind the UK economy as well at times. A lot of that kind of the industry itself offers not just places for people to go and eat, but a lot of business deals and all of that kind of things you don't really think about. It's like if there's nowhere nice to take clients, then other things are going to get knocked on and they're going to go elsewhere, and that's going to have a knock-on effect. It's a silly thing to think about, but if you don't have a meeting room or a nice private dining room to show off clients to, then they'll do it in a different country. So I think there's things like that that people don't think about. And I mean, having a 80 to 100 billion pound kind of annual growth, well, I think 80 to 100 billion is where you see the industry making kind of on annually. And I think it covers about 3.5 million jobs in the UK. It's a big knock-on effect to the wider economy as well. So I think they need to think about one a little bit more, I suppose.
When you see that taking, because it feels like from what you're saying, kind of the hospitality industry is being put at odds with itself. To be honest, the
Yeah,
the the impact of the budget, the ability to resource and staff from abroad. What is the future of the hospitality industry? How do businesses such as yourselves kind of grow through that period?
I mean, we have to look at where our profits are coming from, where the busy sites are, how they are attracting the, the footfall, I suppose, and playing on those as well. I think you'll see a lot of other sites that aren't doing so well getting cut straight away because it's a lot harder to keep the underperforming venues that are there purely because it's nice to have X, Y, and Z in certain areas. I think you'll see a lot of that kind of being kind of chopped away, and you'll see a lot more closures, especially for the even larger high street brands as well. I think there's going to be kind of consolidation of bigger groups for that. I think it needs to be kind of allowing growth. I think there needs to be investment in the high street, especially even retail and hospitality as well. Um, I think there needs to be more control for the brands themselves on the apprenticeship levy fund as well and how that can be used. I think it's very kind of restrictive, the current state that it is. And I think if we do get that, then I think, again, like the apprenticeship thing is a great thing to be able to offer, but there's a lot of other things that we could do to kind of improve the knowledge of our employees and progress them that we've already got. So keeping hold of good talent and also developing good talent is going to be kind of the key for anyone. Like we said, the apprenticeship scheme is open to external people, but I think we're going to look at it internally as well and have a good, strong list of who we can progress quite quickly. And going back to the kind of different locations that are kind of exploding, it's all about food trends in the consumer. So what is working in those areas, what is popular, what is desirable for consumers, and how we can then bring that into the sites that we've got currently around food trends and around kind of what's Instagrammable, shall we say, um, and how we can kind of develop on that as well. I think sustainability, healthy eating is going to be huge going forward. A big play on where the food comes from. Again, if it comes from the UK, do we have farmers to grow it? I mean, that's going to be the issue that we're going to see. People want to know where their food comes from, and I think we've got net zero ambitions as well as a group coming into that, which is going to be great. And I think there's a lot of stuff that's going to be happening. I think you'll see a lot of movement in the market. There'll be openings and closures and all sorts of stuff going on. But I think there's some amazing people in this industry, and we just want more of them. I think that's the ideal.
How do you bring them in? It sounds like that. It sounds like you're having to really kind of go right to the beginning to find those college students, find those younger
Yeah,
demographics, kind of upskilling those in house as well within those spaces too. How do you bring skilled workers into the industry from outside those areas?
I think it's kind of we need to play on the whole social media aspect. I think that is where everyone spends 90% of their time these days. So we need to be extremely active on there, not just kind of for marketing purposes, but also then for talent attraction purposes. So D&D themselves have their own people Instagram. We're very active upon that, and also the Instagram, LinkedIn pages as well. So I think using that is going to be key to kind of engaging the younger generation. Um, I think kind of identifying it is a career opportunity and the benefits of that, the succession planning on that, and how you can start here and work your way to that aspect as well. And going back to how I fell into it in terms of getting that foundation for someone and getting those kind of core skills to be able to then move into it is, if they want to become a marketer or they want to go into sales, it's a great place to start to do that. We have a lot of people in the hotel itself that I'm here today with, who have come in at junior levels and worked their way up and now within a support office role. So it's not that you have to then stay in the restaurants the whole time. You can diversify into marketing, you can diversify into anything that you wanted to from that aspect, and making that obvious and clear as well to people. I think, like you said, some people see it as a stopping gap in terms of moving on to other things, which it can be, but I think there is a career there for people as well, and it provides so much. I think other things, it's like mobile friendly websites. It's just simple things like that, where if a career page is not useful, it's not kind of UX kind of focused, I think that puts off a lot of people. I think benefits is huge, so kind of being up to date and um, constantly improving and evolving your benefits to make them kind of relevant to people is going to be key. I think for us, we need to be our own as a recruiter. We need to be content creators as well. It sounds silly. I'm not a TikToker or an Instagrammer or whatever, but I think we need to be that, have that kind of string to your bow as well, and think of ways to engage with those kind of younger individuals that are coming into the business. So kind of
That's what you're doing already. You touched on having the social presence, and that very much ties into the employer brands and who D&D are and what the given the guess is from being at D&D. Can you talk about? Are you able to talk about kind of what that content looks like to you guys, what you're trying to focus on?
I think it's kind of exposing people to the working life, I think, in terms of what D&D is. So I think people, there's so much competition out there in terms of restaurants. In London, you've seen that kind of, you walk around any corner, there's a new restaurant, or there's another prep, or I think you can go anywhere. And I think people think it's just the same job and just a different setting. So you need to make it enticing and engaging to people. Career stories is always a huge one. So telling people, kind of exposing them to that, from stories from individuals in the business already, where they started, where they are now. So we've got an induction for the new starters of November next week. So we're bringing in a guest speaker who's the new director of sales to talk about how she came into the company recently, what her story was, what her plan is going forward. We've got career stories on the presentation from general managers as well. So it gives these people are already in the business, but again, it gives them that insight to say, okay, these people have actually liked their job and they've stayed and they've improved and they've moved up. So I want to do that as well. And it's getting them excited, getting them engaged, getting them kind of dedicated to the cause, I suppose, and wanting to come to work is another kind of aspect to that as well. I think being transparent is easy. I think that's what you need to be.
I think transparency creates honesty, doesn't it? It creates somewhere that you want to be, you want to aspire to be. I
Yeah.
think BT is it's nice to hear examples of how other people are doing it and how other businesses are telling those stories. And I
Yeah.
think just to wrap us up as we come to the last couple of minutes, Sam, you're clearly a massive foodie. You love the hospitality. I can tell. I can tell. You've had a fantastic experience from starting off that wine and cheese shop, coming
Mm,
into Arthur Glen to where you are today at D&D. Would you do it all again with hindsight?
of course. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't change anything. I think hindsight is sometimes a wonderful thing, but I don't think you would go back and change it. Like I said, I wouldn't be annoyed at my mum like I was when she kind of put my CV forward because I wouldn't be here today. So I mean, things like that. Um, I think if you have regrets, then it's not worth it to me. I think, as I said, it creates a wider skill set. I mean, I think it's an incredible industry, and I think a lot of other people should see it like that. I think if we lose it, a lot more people will be upset and angry about it than they are actually now. So I think we need to keep hold of the good things.
It's probably something you don't appreciate. You wouldn't appreciate until it's gone. There's so many
Exactly. Yeah.
the hospitality industry up and down the country, not just in London, but
Mm,
across the United Kingdom. I think
yeah.
if it's one of those that really does get run into the ground by legislation, by politics, you won't see it until it's not there anymore, until your
Yeah.
favorite uncle around the corner starts to close its doors. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And kind of what nuggets would you share yourself? Kind of if you're starting out this journey, going back to when you first took those steps through those doors,
Yeah.
what would you tell yourself?
I mean, don't be scared to pick up the phone. Don't be scared to bombard people on Instagram and LinkedIn to get to the job that you want to get to. I think don't be scared to do that aspect of it. And the nervousness and the self doubt in the early days does sometimes try to consume you. But I think just have that confidence in yourself, make the mistakes. Um, Again, I've made many, so we're still here. No one's died. So I mean, that's at the end of the day, we're trying to serve people food and do it in a nice setting, and that's what it is. And again, if people go away and they're happy and they've liked their experience, then that's amazing. And then I always say, don't forget where you've come from as well. Like I was working in a small kind of gastro pub, um, and then you don't know where that goes to in terms of. We'll say that to anyone that's looking to come into the hospitality industry. My own career story, for example, I think if you've lived it, you can then describe it a lot better as well. And I think love the brands that you work for. Be picky, I think is key. I think don't go into a job because it's a nice salary or it's a good location. I think you need to really love the brand that you work for and the business that you work for, especially within recruitment. I think it's a sales job at the end of the day. And if you can't sell the brand that you work for or sell the benefits or sell any of that, it's half the battle.
I think that's such an honest and kind of refreshing way of looking at it. And
Yeah.
Sam, thank you so much for joining me. Really insightful, really good to hear about your thoughts on the hospitality industry, specifically within London as well. To anyone listening, thank you for joining us. You can always listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, watch us on YouTube. Sam, once again, thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
What else? Thank you very much. And we'll speak to you again on the next episode of Talent Talks. Thank you.